All right, so let's get right to it. How to dominate freelancing on Upwork. And the first thing I want to say is on this particular video, we are going to go through all the various components of this course. So consider this video, although it might be a little dry, consider it us laying the foundation and laying the groundwork for everything that we're going to be covering. So I do think it's important that you get the big picture of what we're going to be going through. So as we're going through one video, you might be thinking about, okay, well, when are we ever going to talk about, picking the right jobs, or when are we going to be talking about proposals? So this is the reason I want to lay it all out as far as how we're going to be covering it. And so let me just go right through it. The first thing that we're going to be talking about as we go through this is the purpose of this course. So when we're talking about freelancing, there's a number of different things and aspects that we could talk about, but we are going to talk about the specific purposes and purpose of this course, what it is and what it isn't. So we're going to be getting to that very soon. The next thing, we will spend a little bit of time on account setup. Although I do want to stress that this course really isn't designed to take you through an exhaustive approach of how to sign up for Upwork, Freelancer, or any other of the many freelance websites that are out there. And I do think at this point I should just point out, while the title of this course is How to Dominate Freelancing on Upwork, it really could just be How to Dominate Freelancing. But I chose to put Upwork in there because it's where I'm going to be giving some very specific examples as we go through this course. But the principles of this course are, I believe, very relevant for any sort of freelancing type of community and where clients are existing. And so I think you'll find that as we go through. But we will spend a little bit of time on account setup because it is important to a certain degree. And part of that will be your profile. So again, other freelance sites might call it something different, but it's basically how you can display your resume and your past experiences. And we will talk about that and go through some of that in one of the aspects of this course. We're going to talk about key success factors. So we're going to talk about it in the big picture in theoretical terms first, and really get down to why things work, why things are important. And in that conversation, we'll also talk about some of the things that probably aren't that important that people can lose a lot of time on. So we are going to take some specific time to say, hey, there's about 100 different things you could be thinking about and focusing on when it comes to your freelancing business and having success in freelancing. Here's the 5 or 10 that you really need to focus your time and energy on. And I really do believe that focusing in on what matters is so important when it comes to having success in freelancing because, anyway, I'm not going to dwell too much on it now, but needless to say, we're going to be talking about that as we go through the course. Your first job. So some of you are watching this and going through this course never having actually done any freelance work, or you've done some freelance work, but you never really thought of it in those terms. You did it for a company that you know or for someone individually that you know, and you did some work for them. Well, that's actually freelance. But when it comes to freelance communities online and freelance websites, maybe you've never done any work that way. And I will tell you that getting those first jobs, executing those first jobs is absolutely critical, and it can seem like an impossible hurdle to get over. And some of you perhaps watching this course have tried. You're like, well, I just couldn't get a job. It seemed like everything was stacked against me. So we're going to talk about that because it's really important. For some of you, you've already done plenty of jobs, and you may not need to spend too much time on this particular aspect of the course, but you may find it interesting and be able to relate to it. Now, the next thing we're going to be talking about is the money. So very important when it comes to freelancing. How much are you earning, and how much is Upwork, for example, or are other freelancing websites, what kind of a cut are they taking? What percentage of your earnings are they taking away because of the services they provide? So we'll talk a little bit about that. Then we're gonna start really honing in on how do you pick the right jobs? How do you pick the right people that you want to do work for? And there really are a number of things that you need to focus in on. And it can be different depending on how much you're just getting started versus your strategy of if you want to work for just a couple of clients and have really long-term relationships versus transactional business where you want to do X number of jobs per week. All things to be thinking about when it comes to picking the right job. So we're really going to dive into that and spend some time on that. Very important part of this. Now, just as important are jobs to avoid, clients to avoid, and red flags to look for. So we will be spending time on that through the course as well. All right. Next, if the next thing we're going to be spending time on is proposals. And other freelance, I believe Upwork calls them proposals. Other freelance websites might call them job bids. Whatever you call it, it's basically the point where you've decided that you want that job, and now you need to pitch yourself and pitch what you can do. And so we're going to be spending a lot of time on that particular section because it's so critical. And you can really shine in this area, or you can be like most people and either be mediocre or weak. So we're going to be spending a lot of time on that. Okay, and then the first meeting. So I think some people that go into freelancing don't even really think of this part. But when it comes to doing up a proposal, and the proposal is really just to start the relationship, and you really want to have a meeting, whether it be over Skype or phone, or sometimes even a live chat back and forth, or a webcam meeting, whatever it is, you want to have a strategy around that first meeting and conversation that you have with the client, the person that's hiring you or considering you for a particular job. And then I have another section, and we're going to spend some time on it, called presentation. And this is all part of the getting the job stage. So proposals, the first meeting, the presentation, and how you really can present yourself and your recommendations and the service that you offer, and even just yourself, and how important that is. And so we're going to spend time on that, and then it's actually about winning the job and locking the job down. Okay, so all of these sections, these items, I'll just point my cursor here, from proposal to winning the job. Obviously, this is very much the meat of getting the work. Okay, and this is just so important. But we don't stop there, because then it comes to actually starting the work. And there's some pretty, I believe, there's a good gem or two in here of when you start working with somebody, how you can really explode the opportunity from what might be a seemingly small opportunity to something that's really big. And so we'll talk about that. And then we're going to take sort of a step, I don't want to say a step back, but we're going to take just a little step off to the side and review things and look at success rates. Consider, okay, how many proposals, how many jobs do I have to look at? How many proposals do I have to send in? How many conversations do I need to have? What can I expect from all of this? If I do 100 job proposals, how many jobs should I expect to ultimately land? How much time is this all going to take me? So what does that mean for my success or my failure? So we're going to have a look at that and actually look at some hard numbers of what you can expect based on your activity of trying to get work and where that should all be taking you. So we want to look at it before you even really get into it. We want to consider, what does success look like? And then we're going to go from that, and we're going to look at the next level success. So after you've been working with people, after you've been working with clients, what should you be trying to do? What should you be trying to achieve? So some really important things there that if you're just sort of getting into freelancing, and frankly, even if you've been in it a while, there's some items here that you may not have considered that could really improve what you do and improve your freelancing business. Okay, and so then at the very end, we're going to review the whole thing again. So we're kind of looking at everything we're going to cover. We're looking at it right now. Well, at the end of it, we're going to say, okay, here's what we looked at. What does it all mean? And where do we go from here? So so I hope this makes sense. I wanted to introduce you to what the entire course is going to look like, and we're going to bite these off one at a time, and we're going to be referring back to items and pieces of the course that we've done, and I may even refer to other upcoming pieces of the course as we go through it and say we're going to be covering it in detail later on. but I wanted you to get the full big picture before we dive in. All right, so let's get going.